Hello, welcome to another video. In this episode we're going to be bringing magical photos to life. Now this is episode 2 in a little series called Getting Creative with Your Photography from Home, or as I like to call it now, being stuck in the house for over 2 weeks, doing something for long enough to entertain myself. So if you haven't seen the first episode, I will link the episode right here for you so you can check that out. And just like that episode, this photography project is going to require a little bit of setup, some patience and some motivation to get creative. So before we go any further, let me show you what we're going to be working on. We're going to take a photo that looks like this and turn it into a magical finished product that looks like this. Before we get into how to do this, let's talk a little bit about what things you will need to make this happen. So first thing, you'll need a camera, you'll need a tripod, you need a remote, you'll also need some fishing line or some string, and some tape. I use Scotch tape in my examples. And lastly, to make your photos interesting and relative to you, you're going to need props. So for me, I love gaming, so I chose my Nintendo mushroom, my little question mark block. So a solid plan of attack for this is to have a rough idea of the kind of dynamic you want in your photo before you even start, because once you set it up, it can be a bit of a pain to pull down and reset if it's not at the right height, if it's not in the right place, if you're not getting the right composition from that area. So have a little brainstorming session and think about what it is you want to achieve with this. For me, I wanted to show that the mushroom was sort of bursting out the cube like you do when Mario hits it. So I based my body position, I based the length of the string, the angle of the mushroom, the way I held the cube. I based all of that around that idea, and that made the shooting process a whole lot easier when I got to it. Saved me a lot of time by just planning a little bit in advance. Having that remote means that if you don't have anyone around to help you take the photo, you can still set off the shutter, drop the remote or hold it out of frame and continue with your shot. If you don't have a remote, no problem, don't worry about it. You've got a delayed shutter probably on your camera of 2, 5 and 10 seconds. Choose which one is most appropriate for you in order to set up your shot and get into position comfortably. Just a heads up with a helpful tip. If you are using fishing line or really thin string, it's a good idea to tie a knot in the end that's attaching to your prop and then sticking the tape above that so that the string doesn't slip out if it's maybe a little too heavy. And that should prevent your prop from falling on the floor mid-shot or ruining your shot or anything like that. Another thing is my props are actually quite light compared to like a video game controller or a set of headphones, anything like that. Like these are really light, so I'm getting away with taping the string or the fishing line to the prop directly. If it's heavy, it's probably going to slip off, the tape's not going to hold because it may be at a weird angle. Best bet then is to tie it around the object and just spend a little bit more time later when we're editing it out in Photoshop. And just for the record, this isn't the only way that you can do this kind of photo. I have done it in the past where I've had models stand with their hand and they prop in their hand and they throw it up and I basically fire away until I get that right looking shot. It is quite difficult to get a natural looking shot unless you've got a professional person who's thrown a lot of things up in the air and knows exactly what to do. So this method gives me a more foolproof and certain way of getting the shot that I want in the setup that I want, so it's a more controlled environment. And in my opinion, gives me a more definitive result that I can count on when I set the shot up. So now that we've talked about what we're going to do and what we need to accomplish this kind of photo, let's crack on with the how and start making some magical photos. So this right here is going to be my setup. You're going to want to find something that you can either tape one end of your fishing line to, like maybe the outing of the door, the top of the door frame there, or if you don't want to damage anything with the sticky tape, because Scotch tape is pretty sticky, you can use something like an extendable pole or like a shower curtain or something, or a rickety old pull-up bar that's found its way out because the gym's closed. That's what I'm going to use here. I'm going to tie my string around the top here, have it dangling down in the door frame, probably about waist height, just so that I can do some actions behind it. I don't need to shoot too wide. I'll see you on the other side of a little time lapse. So one of the big things about finicky or tricky objects like this is to try and get the angle and back the right way to have it sitting the way that you want. So what I'm looking for here is maybe a hand gesture with the question mark block and the mushroom as if it's firing out of it. So I want it to be slightly off center, off balance, slightly askew and ready to just hang as if it's popped out of that box. That's it also. Whoa, fuck me. So yeah, tie a knot in the end of the string. I tied one, maybe I'll need to tie two. I've now moved my camera into position. I'm going to set up the focal range for this photo and then set it up. So time lapse is going to come from the GoPro from now on. I'm just going to find a spot to set it that it can get everything. Ended up shooting at 35mm, quite close to the subject, finding my autofocus on the mushroom that was hanging there before coming in front of the camera and then using the remote. I actually used the remote and a 2-second delay just to allow it to start spinning, and when I guessed it was going to be like 2 seconds from there it was going to be perfect, hit that shutter button. So once you've shot photos that you're happy with, the next step is to start editing them, and my edit process is going to be taking them into Lightroom, adding my signature style to them, so a high contrast look, a punchy look, and then taking them into Photoshop, removing that fishing line or string, whichever it is you've used, to then create the final product. I brought my photo into Lightroom and applied my Drama Llama preset. I'm just going to adjust the parameters there, put a little radial filter around the subject, pop it out a little bit better. That is the focus of the photo. So because I've got a mushroom in here from Mario, it's predominantly red. It's a very definitive red, so I'm trying to match that as best I can, even in that preset. And adjusting the HSL tabs just to pop that out a little bit more, as well as accentuate the cube, which is kind of a background object in this photo. And ideally I'm looking for some darker borders, so not having the profile correction on is going to help me in that case. A little bit of a crop and adding the vignette in, and that's it. We're ready to take it into Photoshop and remove the string. So you have a choice. You can either use content aware fill, which didn't work here in this instant right now, or you can use the clone stamp. The clone stamp lets you choose the area that you want to put in to the new spot. So I'm choosing black from the background of my jumper. I'm going to have to tidy up the edge of the mushroom here, so I'm zooming in a little bit, just taking off what I can, smooth it out. You can spend a long time here if you want, but for the purpose of this video I'm going to make it as tidy as possible without taking forever. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to take out the 3 little holes in the top of the little mushroom toy, just to take away any distraction and any blemishes that are on the mushroom too. There we go, mushroom's looking good. So for the rest of the string, I'm going to go back to the clone tool, and I'm going to select an area that's pretty close to it just to match the tones in the jumper. If I go really far away from the string, it's much harder to blend it in. You'd have to work a lot harder to do that. And I'm refreshing my point of selection. You'll notice the little plus sign appearing there, and that's where I'm selecting the area to cover the string with. So making sure I'm adjusting that as I go up, so I'm not just selecting one part and deleting the whole thing with it. And now that the string's removed, we look like we've got a floating mushroom. And it's a pretty dynamic photo. And of course you can make these photos more simple than I have. I've chosen to use 2 props instead of maybe just 1. So for example, I shot a playing card and this is what it turned out like. But then also you can make it a little bit more difficult. So taking that playing card idea and then setting my remote shutter, spraying some cards from behind to get this effect, which looks even more dynamic. In my humble opinion, it's the best photo of the session. Now, I had a lot of fun making these photos up. It's something that I haven't really dedicated any time to because it is time consuming, and to be fair, it can be quite frustrating if you're not able to get your prop to sit properly, or maybe you don't have someone to help you. If you have someone to help, it's easier because they can take control of the camera and you can focus on getting your position right. But if it's you shooting yourself, it presents you the extra challenge of timing as well as positioning. So with this idea, as well as every other one, you're only limited by your own creativity, and you can bring in elements from other parts of your life. So I brought my love for video games in through the use of the little Nintendo toys. Get involved, have a think what props are relevant to you. It could be a coffee cup or a video game controller or a little bottle of whiskey. And my hope with this video is that it inspires you to go out and create these kind of photos yourself. If you do, hit me up on Instagram and tag me. I would love to see what you come up with. With that said, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And as always, do hit that subscribe button. It's a great way to support this channel. It's entirely free. All you have to do is smash that button and it's done. And I will see you in the next video.